Welcome to the Garage Grit Podcast. I'm your host, Brad Hurlock of AA Shop Marketing. Our hope is to unite shop owners to tackle common stress points and challenges that they're experiencing within the auto repair shop space. Our mission is to guide you towards the best solutions for your shop. So tune in, join the conversation, and let's move your business forward. Hi, I'm Brad Hurlock. I'm your host of the Garage Grit Podcast. I'm glad you're here. I'm glad you're listening in. We've got a great show for you today. We're talking about the red flags of the hiring process. We're talking about not just the red flags, but the whole process as well, because it can be a costly mistake to have somebody on that's not right for your team. I'm not just talking about them doing a bad job. I'm talking about potentially even the negativeness that spreads like a cancer throughout the rest of the team. Right people early on in the process. And how do we do that? How do we look out for the wrong people to avoid them in the first place? And it's not very easy right now with the small little thing called the mechanic shortage that we have going on. So I'm glad everyone's here listening. Jen and Mark and Chris, thank you for joining us. Jen, you're the first one on my screen here. Why don't you introduce yourself as well as your shop? Tell us a little bit about you.
Hey, I'm Jen. I've been working for my father for 22 years. He's owned the shop here in Easton, PA for 37. We're a small garage. We got 3 bays, 3 mechanics, usually a kid from the high school helping out, but we're a pretty small shop.
Now, the population area, Easton is pretty built up, and it's right
huge.
off of Allentown.
It's a small city.
But it still actually meets the city requirements. So it's
yeah.
So I've worked with people who are in rural Pennsylvania, and you could throw a stick or a stone and you're going to hit more cows than you are people, right? How much competition do you have in your immediate area?
Oh my God. Within 3 blocks, I probably got 5 garages.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very common. All right. So Mark, how about you take the next turn? Tell us about the shop. Tell us about where you're at. What's going on?
So we got 2 stores. We got one in Lake Villa and one in Grace Lake. Been in business now for about 20 years. We have 23 staff between the stores. We have 24 courtesy cars between both stores.
Nice.
And I don't know, that's about it.
I want to ask about the courtesy cars, partially because we had a great podcast in December where we actually talked about the benefit of having shuttle service versus courtesy cars versus rental cars versus just doing a corporate Uber and allowing people to use it. How did you get to the 24 courtesy cars? Are they all branded?
They're all branded. We started out with 3, and then as time went on and opened up more stores and got busier, we acquired more and more used cars. And let's be honest, years ago, we could pick up a used car for $3,000,
right,
fix it up and get it on the road and drive it for years. That's changed now. Some of the recent cars we bought have been much more expensive, but we're buying better cars. And around here, rust just kills us. I've got cars with 300,000 miles on them, and they run and drive great mechanically, but they're starting to not look so good. So we started to transition into newer cars.
Have you considered changing the colors of your logo to rust colored so it blends in? You don't really notice it.
It doesn't blend in on the bottom of the doors.
Yeah, so that's a really interesting. Yeah, we even talked about the insurance a little bit on that podcast because I've heard some shops say, I looked into getting official courtesy cars and my insurance exposure, like their particular company didn't even want to touch it. So that's very interesting. So if you're listening to that and you're thinking I think it is a good idea because people want that kind of benefit, right? That kind of ease of doing business with you.
I think it helps both sides. It helps people leave their car longer because they're not strapped, not having wheels.
Yeah.
So that helps us. And let's be honest, parts issues, somebody make a mistake. It's so much easier to put somebody in a loaner car and say, I'll take care of it. I'll get it fixed, than tying them up without their car. So and plus it's the advertising. You see it on your neighbor's driveway. You see it at the grocery store. It's a giant mobile billboard for the company.
Yeah, especially if you have 24 of them. That's great. Yeah, no, it's a real thing being strapped without your car. My favorite's probably the wrong word. Story about being strapped without a car. I dropped my car off at my mechanic. It's only 3 miles away. I walk back. He's like, do you want to ride? I'm like, I can use the exercise. It's fine. And so I'm walking back to the shop. I had just exited my driveway. And this was about 8 years ago, maybe a little bit more. And my mother-in-law calls me and she says, I was just in a car accident. Your son was in the car with me. How fast can you get here? A courtesy car, or decades before, a courtesy car would have been a real pleasure. Anyway, I got in there. I'm like holding up my credit card. Do we need to call an ambulance? Hey, okay, go. So, anyway, all was fine, by the way. Yeah, there was no injury to people. It was just a shakeup. And he's not afraid of getting in cars finally now. No, I'm kidding. He wasn't afraid of getting in cars right away. He was fine. But yeah, courtesy cars, good idea. So How about you, Chris? Tell us about your shop. Tell us about you.
That's our medium-sized shop. We're about 7 bays, 4 guys. We're in Fort Collins, Colorado, about an hour north of Denver. 150,000 people, college town. We've been here 30 years this year. Eric founded it out of his own garage, and then I came in as a partner.
Nice. Now, your setup is also a little bit different in that you are renting space inside of a long building, and there are other repair shops.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
5 other repair shops in our building.
So that actually dwarfs your little, there's about 5 in our 3-block radius building. They share a parking lot. So what is that like? We talked a little bit about this before, Chris, but why don't you share that with everybody? I just find that really curious.
For us, it really doesn't bother us. We've been here, so we've been in the same building for 29 of our 30 years.
Okay.
So we were the first shop to open up in this building. They cut and threaded pipe here, big, huge pipe for a long time. And that's what it got transformed into. But 3 of the shops are diesel shops, and we don't do any diesel. So there's really no competition with them. One of them is a high-end specialty shop called Funky Build, and he builds like high-end Subarus. He's got, I think, the fastest Subaru in the country right now.
Okay.
It's like super fast, like 9.
But he's not allowed to drive it anywhere?
And then there's 2 other guys that really would be technically competition to us, but we've never looked at it as competition. They're just another guy that does the same thing we do. When we get busy, we send work to them all the time. Yeah. And so we've got a great relationship with them. It doesn't necessarily come back the other way because we have to be the front of the shop. We've been long established. So we are consistently busy. We don't do older cars anymore. We do nothing older than 96. So we're BD2 and up. So we don't do it.
What?
We send everything down to Dave. And so in return, we get breakfast burritos and donuts. Totally fun.
It's really interesting. I got to tell you, on April 1st, I would have been tempted to take all of my signage and business cards and snuck into their front desk and just swapped out theirs with mine. Just for the morning of April 1st, of course.
Yeah,
What's that?
Just to see what he said.
It'd be fun. So Jen's response was nodding in agreement in that you sometimes do send work to your other competition. Mark, are you doing that as well?
We have a shop down the street from our Lake Villa store that they send work to us. We do their alignments and stuff for them.
Sure.
We have another shop in Libertyville that if it's a BMW, Mercedes, something that gets way more intense or way more involved than we're willing to get, we'll send work down to them. But for the most part, we do all our own stuff.
Okay. And, the primary topic today is about hiring. And so instead of a red flag, is it a positive flag? If someone with Mercedes mechanic experience wants to work at your shop, is that a no, you're going to be bored? Or is that you obviously have a lot of skill, come on in?
For us, we don't want to get involved in those cars. Even if he's great, we still don't want to get involved in those cars.
Okay.
Yeah.
But would you let him be a general repair mechanic, or would you say you got to stick to Mercedes because that's what you know and you're going to get paid better?
We do just general maintenance and services on BMW and Mercedes. I'm just saying if they got a bent valve or something engine mechanical where it's way more involved or timing chains, that's not something we're going to get involved.
Okay.
I think most garages are like that, unless you specialize in European.
Yeah.
I think most of us.
Right.
We got 2 shops we send everybody with Euros to.
Yeah.
Me too. I send everybody to.
But with that in mind, then if somebody from those shops wants to work at your shop, your answer is no, thank you, because
I don't need
if they're willing to work on Toyota and Honda, then
that's what I'm asking, Chris.
Yeah.
If they are willing to work on Toyota and Honda, are you concerned about them being bored? Or
No. As long as you can do other work, it doesn't matter. It's the guys that come in and go, I specialize in BMW and I love working on them and that's what I want to do. I'm not going to change my business model and say, oh, now I'm taking BMW to accommodate him. If he's willing to come in, it's kind of like with any employee. I want you to come in and fit my culture. I'm not going to change my culture for you.
Right.
Because that's the big mistake people make. They go, oh, he's a master tech. Hire him no matter what. If he doesn't fit, I don't want him.
Yeah. How else are you going to know that he is or isn't going to fit?
You can tell.
Our hiring process is pretty intensive. It's a 3-visit process. Oh yeah, I talked to all my guys this morning. I was like, what was great about it? What'd you love about it? What's different? And it's pretty intense. And by the time we're done with it, I know that guy's going to come in and at least culture-wise, he's going to fit.
That's really interesting. We're going to talk a little bit about that. Jen, you were surprised about the 3 visits. How many times did they come to your shop before you hire them? They're like, hey, you showed up for the interview. Here's the...
You got boots on. You got tools with you. One, and then usually we hire them.
Okay.
depending on who it is.
If you're
works
going to
out.
hire them, then it only take you only go through one.
Yeah.
Do you have
And
a
I think you feel them out. You know what they're about.
yeah, but
You
telling
can tell
people
if
that
they're
it's
booked
you got to go with your gut. I don't know. I feel like there needs to be.
Sometimes.
So I'm a numbers guy. I'm a very much a process person in general. I want things, and yet the irony, by the way, the irony of that is because we're in the digital marketing space, right? AA shop marketing. And my business partner will tell me, you need to have a slide presentation so that you can just like have like other people just go through the slide presentation. And
Yeah.
my response to that is always, nobody is interested in that. Everyone's bored by that. People like to have
Yeah.
conversations. And so my process, which isn't duplicatable, I just have conversations with people and I listen and I hear what they have to say and I respond to that, but it's not duplicatable. It's not coachable to say, go do that. Right. And so what Chris has in place is, God forbid something happened to him, or maybe he just goes on a vacation for 3 weeks. Someone else could step in with that written process. And follow the process. It, like,
That's cool.
your gut goes with you, Jen, when you go to Hawaii.
I'll be back in 10 days.
Nice.
Nobody leaves.
All right, Mark, how about you? Do you have a particular process in place that's established? You have 2 locations. What do you got?
Typically, we have at least 3 interviews. We bring them back. If we can work it out with somebody, if they can come in and do a working interview, we try and have them come in and work for a day and just get
Whole
to
day.
meet the staff, talk to the staff. And it's twofold, that see how they fit in with our staff, right? And then I get the opinion of my staff as to what they thought of the person working with them a day. So it's a win-win both sides. Maybe they'll realize that maybe this isn't the right place for me, or we'll find out that this is not going to be a good fit.
Yeah.
Do you pay them for your time, for their time? Don't add them to the payroll for a day. Their paperwork is nice, but you just hand them like 50. You just hand them some cash, right? Or
We'll cut them a check.
oh, you cut them. Okay.
Yeah, shop help or something like that, or just pay them for the day and see how it goes. It's a win-win both sides.
And do you
I
pay
think
them
we've all done
the
it.
regular rate that they're going to get?
Oh, I'm sure we come up with a number that's helpful for them. It's so valuable. It's with being so hard to find techs now, and to find a good tech for a few $100 or whatever it is for a day, it's well worth it if you find somebody valuable.
Yeah. Oh, I'm just thinking that if you overpay them for that day, they're going to be really disappointed on their first actual paycheck. And then the flip can also be true. You just gave me $50. What am I supposed to do with this? This is what I can expect if I work for 5 days. I'm going to get $250. That's not enough. My grocery bill is a little bit higher. You don't have a set rate for that day labor during the interview process.
No, I don't have a particular set rate for that.
Interesting. Okay. Okay. All right. So Jen, are you thinking about now maybe trying to hire somebody for the day to see whether or not they qualify?
We've done it.
Keep your
Oh yeah, many times. Sometimes they proved that they didn't know anything they said they knew.
Mm.
Sometimes it works out.
We don't hire experts anymore.
No.
That's funny.
We don't hire experts in it.
That's really interesting.
That's almost the same thing.
I know it is, but from an insurance perspective, they actually have to differentiate. But anyway, okay. So you would also flinch at specialists. You just
anytime anybody comes in saying they know everything in this industry,
they know nothing.
Yeah, I'm not saying they know nothing, but they probably don't know what they think they know.
Nope.
Or they come in and say,
There's not many places. All makes, all models. Like we work on all makes, all models except for European. And I feel like we get a guy from Ford in and he may know a lot about Ford, but doesn't know anything about a Toyota or a Nissan. And we here, most of us have been here a while. They don't know the variety of vehicles. Most people that we've hired don't know the bulk of it.
And they can't possibly know it's ever changing, right? I mean, before the show, we were talking about my Jeep Grand Cherokee, and I actually currently have the 2015, and I test drove the 2020, and I'm looking around, I'm like, this is the same car. The screen is a little bit brighter. The LCD, the screen on the front is a little bit brighter, but otherwise it's the same, and it feels the same. Everything's the same. So I know that the water pump's going to go at 70,000 miles. I know that. So anyway, the transmission's going to go at 210, right? But that's my point, is that even still, though, there's brand new things constantly coming out. The 2021 Jeep Grand Cherokees, I think they upped their game when it came to some of the technology, but it was still behind the scenes. And I don't know how that would apply. That was electronics. So I don't know how that applies to you guys as well. Do you have people who come in and say, I know the electronics side? Do you stay away, or are you like, oh, good, we need someone who actually has a little bit more strength here?
it really depends on what it is.
Yeah.
There are guys, like we had a guy for a long time that was his special. It was his specialty. He was really into electronics. He was great at like chasing down wiring problems and
Mhm.
shorts. And he just had all the diagnostic. He had more money in diagnostic tools than I have in a shop. I felt, and he was really good at that. But he also came in and said, "I'm not gonna make time doing a timing belt. I'm not great at that, but any problem, any electrical problem in the car, I'll find it."
That's interesting.
So then he
what
put
you're
them on
saying
their
is,
jobs.
well, yeah. So what you're saying is the red flag is the boasting, right? To claim that you know everything or that you're a specialist or an expert. But to go further than that, you want to hear something that makes it sound like they're being straight with you, that they're being honest with you, that they are being authentic with you. They're not putting on airs in any way. This is who I am, a thing. And that's going to be harder. That goes back to Jen's gut. We just got to run it through them, through her.
Tell the new ones to Jen so she can interview him for me.
Doesn't really work.
That's actually a good time for us to ask, like, when was the gut wrong, or when did the process
it's been wrong.
fail? Okay, all right. So there's got to be a fun story. You don't have to name names. You don't have to talk about Harry that's in Bay 3 right now.
We still watch some of the video footage from some of the people that worked here. Like you pull it and you're like, ooh, clip that security footage for later. People don't know half the stuff they say they know. Yeah.
I'm thinking back to our conversation again before the show started about the Facebook videos, and I'm trying to decide if there's a spin there. This person doesn't work here anymore. So have fun. But do you follow them when they leave your shop? Do you know what shops they go to?
Usually, I don't know about you guys, but I'm just glad they're not here when they leave.
Agreed.
All right. So let's keep talking. Let's make a list of the red flags. Let's go round robin and just say, here's a flag, here's a flag. So we already talked about the honesty. We already talked about the boastfulness and claiming of expert. What other flags are jumping out at people? What things you see on a resume and you're like, no. All right. There's a lot of talk and discussion about it doesn't happen in this space. No mechanic is going to put their pronouns on their application. But in a white collar world, on LinkedIn, you see it, right? And there is a lot of conversation about, no, I'm not saying that's a red flag. That tells me that's not a fit for the culture that I have here for whatever reason. Yeah, Jen, thank you for laughing on that. So, but what things are jumping out at you? You look at the application, you're like, no.
Well, and you might not see it on the application, but sometimes we'll go to someone's Facebook page and see what they do for their hobbies or what are their spare time events that they do. And so we've got a couple where their homepage on their Facebook page was like, you're not going to be a good fit here. I can't tell you what they were doing, but we knew that was not going to be a good fit here.
It may or may not have been illegal.
Correct.
My state
What's that, Chris?
said my state.
Yes, that's right.
This wasn't here on the back of the boat.
I agree with Mark. I don't see a ton of red flags other than the people that come through that just have no experience. And you're like, okay, you're probably not going to come in as a master mechanic because you worked for the city doing streets or whatever.
Right.
But in talking with them, searching their social media, looking at some of that, going, yeah, I just don't think you're going to fit. And for me, some of the red flags I get is guys that come in, it's almost, I just had this. A guy comes in and just totally unprepared. Like, calls in, asks for an interview, shows up, no resume, no nothing, and shows up. You can hire me? No. And if you weren't prepared for this, you're not going to be prepared when the car pulls in. You're not going to be prepared when you come to work. The unpreparedness of it, just laissez-faire, just lazy about it. And it's just, that doesn't work.
Yeah. Show up
me
on
you
time,
care.
number one, right?
Yeah.
Be here or 5 or 10 minutes early.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. That's good. So they show up at the minute that the interview starts, they're late attitude with the basics of an interview process. Then they're not going to be prepared for the day-to-day of the job.
Yeah.
Or at the very least, they're not caring enough. If they show, they might not be fully prepared, but at the same time, they've demonstrated the effort. And one of the things that we've seen come through for our clients is when there's a cover letter that obviously has been customized for that particular shop, that tells me they care enough to put a little bit more effort into the process as opposed to just showing up. Do you see a lot of cover letters or none?
No.
None.
Do you require a resume?
Resume.
Oh, really?
I'm not an application anymore.
I keep an application here just in case.
All right. So you have an application just in case. Okay. You don't even require
In case
everyone
they
to fill
don't
it
come
out.
with
Right.
anything, then fill this out.
Right.
Big lump.
Along with the I-9. And that's it.
I
Okay.
feel like it's more like in-person stuff, though, like things you notice.
Yeah.
Like eating, like drug use, like they smell like pot. They come looking like they just woke up at
Yes.
noon. Like I see that and I'm like, oh no.
Hey, Jen, are you checking your social media or not?
I think the
And
whole
I've got a
world
follow-up
does
question
that.
for all of you about social media checking in general, but let me back up to Chris. Did I hear you say that you don't have an application, you just require a resume?
Correct.
Okay.
We look at your resume, but then you also have to fill out a complete application. The biggest thing we look at is referrals, especially if they want you to contact a former employer. Sometimes you got to be careful which employer you reach out to, because one of the employers might actually want them gone. And so he might give them a great referral because he doesn't want them to go for unemployment. So you just have to make sure you reach out to the right employer and get the right answer, because you never know who wants somebody gone, and they're going to give them the best referral ever because they just don't want them in their shop anymore.
Yeah.
Also, got to be careful not to get somebody fired.
It's that.
I always ask them, would you rehire them?
Now, how reciprocal is this? How often do you get phone calls, and how much time are you willing to invest when you get those phone calls?
I barely ever. Do you?
Yeah, we don't get too many. We don't lose too many people, so we don't
Me
get
neither.
too much of that. And the most I'll say is, and like Jen just said, will you hire them again? And I don't give any more information than, no, I would not hire them.
You really can't. Yeah,
No, you got to be careful.
you do.
That's really interesting. So if you have to be careful what you say, it's what you said about how much time do you really even put into it in the first place, because they also have to be careful what they're going to say, or as you said, they're going to promote it to get them out the door and not have to worry about the unemployment expense.
Right.
They
Sure.
limit you.
Do you
I'm
guys
sorry,
run
Chris?
background checks?
I said there's a lot of laws that limit you.
Oh yeah,
There's
big time.
only X number of questions you can ask and only X number you can
Mhm.
answer without violating law. And
Even
so,
in Colorado?
Yeah.
Because they're so relaxed on other things.
Oh yeah. You just can't tell somebody the truth.
You just can't tell about them.
Get
Okay.
talk.
Unless they broke the law, you really can't say anything other than they worked here.
He sucks. He's here. He's horrible, but he's
He
still
was
here.
conscious.
He made a sound when he put both hands on the electrical components, on the positive and the negative. All right, so what about personal referrals? Do you lean heavy onto that, or do you not even bother with that either?
I read
Call
them.
my Uncle Steve. He's really good, no?
Yeah, don't put a whole lot of stock in that.
Okay,
No,
Yeah.
they're only picking the people that are going to say good things
right.
for the game.
But if I was hiring, a red flag would be who's on that list. If the mother is on the list, I'm probably not going to, that's a red flag for me, right? Okay. Does she also do your laundry? What about you guys? Is there anyone on that list that actually would be a red flag? What if it was a shop that you knew of that had a bad reputation?
Yeah, I don't want them.
That's
Yeah.
interesting.
That's a tough one. There are a couple shops that when I see them, I cringe because
Yeah.
I know the culture of that shop. I know the attitude of that shop, and I worry about bringing them into my shop and bringing that with me. And I've seen it, and I've interviewed a couple of them and finished and gone, no, like
Nope.
they're the epitome of that other shop's attitude, and I don't want that.
Yeah, they're like a
Well-
virus.
Yeah, it is. But I find that I'm glad you did interview them, because my pushback question to you, Chris, was going to be, what if they're leaving for that reason?
Yeah.
What if they
I know
also
one
don't
of those
like
guys. One of my main mechanics, we started him out as a lube tech, and then he left, went to the other shop for about 3 years and came back. And he was like, this is why I left there. I hated it and everything else. And now he's one of my top guys.
If they can articulate why they're leaving that cringeworthy shop,
Yes.
then you would be willing to consider it. Mark, you didn't speak up about this. Are there shop names where you're like,
I think it depends on the individual. I really do. You can have guys leave a shop because the culture there is just horrible. I left because of the culture and the ownership. If I'd have gone to another shop, I would have explained why. So sometimes the person's looking for something better, to be treated better, more respect, better company culture, and they want to get out of that environment. And let's be honest, a lot of techs sometimes they don't want to switch. Once they're somewhere and they're comfortable and they're happy, even if it's a tough situation, they still stay sometimes. It takes
Okay.
a lot to get them to move.
all right, let's share a couple fun stories. Just think back to the last year. Let's not mention names, because in Colorado, they have strict rules about these things. But let's just share some generic stories of, this can't be real. This application or resume or applicant, it can't be real. Come on, give me something. Mark,
right.
you're laughing. Come on,
So I've got one young man. I was interviewing him. It was general service, just get him started kind of thing. And we're sitting here talking. He seemed like a nice kid, somewhat intelligent. And so we got down to start time. And I said, the guys get here about 7:15. We coffee. We have our little morning session to see how things go, who's going to do what. And by 7:30, we're ready to work. And I kid you not, sitting in this office, in this chair, looked at me and he said, Oh, I don't get up till 9. I
I hear
hope
McDonald's
your
is
parents are
hiring.
very wealthy because you're in trouble.
Yeah.
Yeah. The
That's
afternoon
this
shift
new
at a fast food.
generation.
Yeah, and he's straightforward about it. Yeah, I don't get up till 9 o'clock.
Man.
I can't take it.
Yes.
All right. That's a good one. Go on. Keep them coming. Come on. Chris, you got one?
Yeah. So we've had, so it's actually been that kind of generation kind of thing, and where they're like, so how exactly many days can I take off per month? And you're like, what do you mean? Our guys only work 4 days a week already. So we're working 4 11s, and then everybody gets a 3-day weekend. And they're kind of taking every other and making a 5-day weekend or a 4-day weekend and a 3-day work week every other week. And you're like, no, we went to 4 days so you have more time. So you have to show up for those 4 days.
Oh my God.
It's straightforward in the interview process. Like, how quickly does my PTO, if Colorado mandated PTO? So again, we're sandwiched in there that we have to allow X amount. And they're like, how fast does that build up? And how quickly can I take it once it builds up? So they're like in the system, they're waiting to build their 8 hours, take a day off, build their 8 hours, take a day off.
Yeah.
You're like, you can legally do that, but it's the fact that you ask that and you're like planning when you're going to miss work sooner is disturbing.
So another red flag, but that's further down in the process. I find that interesting. And the comment was made about the generation or the age. What was the ballpark age of that random anonymous applicant, Chris?
20.
20. Mark?
22.
Yeah, sounds right.
Okay.
My fear
very
is that
interesting.
someday we're going to have 2 time frames. One group of guys work from 8 till noon, and then another group of guys work from noon to 5.
8 to noon will be the retired guys.
Yeah.
That'll be 60 and up.
Yeah.
Unreal.
We're going to have to run 2 shifts at some point
Oh my
because
God,
nobody's going to want to work
crazy.
a full day anymore.
No, it's bad.
They operate 24/7. They have 3 shifts.
Wow.
Yeah.
How do they have that many mechanics?
I
It's just
don't
one
know.
guy. One guy works the next, just 3 guys.
Yeah, it's 3 guys. They just
could be. Of course,
We
the
used to
property
have
is
a
bigger
night
than that.
shift here years ago. They would
Yeah.
just work like 4 and 5 hours. Yeah. Finish
I
up
would think
jobs, get
that
them.
to actually pull that off successfully, you have to have enough fleet work. That you're servicing the types of vehicles that need to be back on the road making deliveries by 6 a.m. So you're working in the middle of the night just to make sure that it's happening. I would think that maybe that's what's going on. I don't know. I didn't actually ask. I didn't have that level of conversation with them, but I came across them and I found that really interesting.
You see that heavy duty.
Is when you see on the application process, whether it's resume or application or just they reach out and you find out their age, are you flinching? It sounds like you've actually entertained some interviews, but do you triage? I'm going to put this guy down here lower in the pile.
I don't.
No, hold on. This is all hypothetical because otherwise that could be considered age discrimination. Maybe in Colorado it actually is. Just hypothetically, yeah. So you don't, Chris. You're actually...
No, I work a lot with our local high schools, trying to build their automotive
Nice.
programs, and then the local college also. So I've had high school kids come through that I've actually gone, man, I wish you weren't in school because I
Yeah.
hired you right now. Because they come in and do a job shadow. We had a kid today. He's on his 2nd job shadow with us because he
Okay.
wants to spend more time in the shop.
Nice.
And I'm always, and I want that. My shop's fairly, at least compared to the other shops around me. My guys are all late 20s, early 30s, and then one guy in his 50s.
Mhm.
And so we're a fairly young shop.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is.
My guys have got a lot of time to stay in the industry. So if I can keep them happy, I'll have staffing issues for a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. And so I love bringing those young kids in and seeing them. Part of that's my past. I was youth pastor for 17 years. So I love high school kids and I love being around them and working with them. I'm discouraged when I get the ones in that are just like, I don't want to do that, or I don't feel like coming in. But at the same time, I'm encouraged in the fact that we've had at least 3 kids come through here that I've gone, man, that kid's going to be successful. Like
Yeah.
wherever he
You
goes,
can tell.
he's gonna be successful.
Yeah.
We had one kid come in here, man, jumped in with a tack. He was like getting dirty. He was cleaning. He was like standing around waiting, grabbed a mop, started mopping a bay. I'm like, nobody told him to. He didn't need to. He doesn't work for us. He's doing a job out for his high school.
Yeah, you had just
Right.
had drive. Yeah.
So age doesn't matter as much. I've also had guys come in here and say, I've never had a comeback in 32 years of being in the industry. And you're going, you're an idiot and you're lying to me.
Yeah, that's not true.
Or I've done this for so long, I've forgotten more than anybody else knows. Just like those same old guys that have the bad attitudes and everything else.
Jen, you mentioned that you're a high school student. How did you go about bringing him into the shop?
He actually came from we do a fleet of trucks. The owner of that business, his son is good friends with him. And
Got
he
it.
recommended us. They're your best workers. I want the hands-on kid.
That's interesting. So you don't have a process in place to try to get more of those or find more of those.
I do, actually. The
Okay.
dealerships just take the kids, like, right out of there.
Okay. I don't know. That feels like an opportunity for after they've gotten a little bit of training on their belts. You go back to them and say, hey, do you not want to feel like a number anymore? Because we have a little bit of a family thing going on here. We've got 3 bays, right? A more tight-knit group than you would get at a dealership. I came across someone the other day. Their email address was a number, not their name at the company name. It was like 29877 or something like that. I'm like, huh, do you feel like a number? I'm just curious. Yeah, that's crazy. Where's the age change? Like you're saying this trend, has it changed?
They get older than 25.
Yeah.
Mark, what about you?
I think early 30s is when you start to see, and that's not for everybody. Like you were saying, we have internship with the college by us, where it's high school kids and it's college kids. And I've had 2 great interns that, like you were saying, they're involved. They want to do this. They're on it. I hate to just say it's a specific age, but you're right. So it's the growing up sometimes that makes the difference. But I would say early 30s, we've noticed a definite difference in the desire, I guess is the best way to.
Does that desire ramp up once they've got a little one at home? I'm asking if family life versus single life kind of changes the dynamic.
I've heard that
for
from other guys. They say they don't even hire you if you don't have a house. Like, it's like your motivation.
Yeah, I guess it depends on how you pay them, whether it's a straight salary or if there's a.
You guys do hourly or
Hourly.
hourly?
Okay. Mark, you didn't chime in.
We have incentive-based programs. Absolutely.
Okay.
We're on top of it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Got it. Yeah. So family doesn't apply to you guys, or you've heard, Jen, you said you heard it from other places, but not yours.
Yeah, no, not me.
And Mark and Chris, you don't care.
No, and I think that does make a difference sometimes, but it depends on the guy, because some guys they're not as involved. But I do have guys that, they had kids. Now they're like, hey, I want more time at home. I want to figure out how to get out of here quicker.
Yeah, it could go either way.
Back to that PTO time.
Yeah. I've seen it both sides, and I've seen it where the spouse makes way more money than they do. And so they don't feel like they have to work as hard because the wife is earning the money. So it can go either way. I don't think there's any dead set rule.
Okay.
No, that's not it. He did it.
Do you guys have kids?
Yeah.
Yes.
How old are your kids? May I ask? Is that allowed to be? Mine's 10, and I found it really curious that even so much as 2 years ago, he was walking around being like, I'm Gen Alpha. I never heard of somebody being so proud of what generation they were from. There was never a boomer walking around, I'm from the boomer generation. Like they might be now, but they weren't then. So I found that to be really interesting. He's excited to be part of the Gen Alpha. Cool.
My kids are stuff like that.
What's that?
But my 21, my daughter's 21 and twins are 15.
Okay. Is that millennial or is that Z?
I don't know what she
I
said.
don't even know. Okay.
Millennial.
Because my kids are like 28. My
Yeah,
kids
what
are
is the
21,
generation
25,
that-
and 28.
The worst generation. What is that? Because she's constantly saying she's I don't even know. And they're the lazy kids, Paige. You have a job. Like Gen Z or whatever. I'm like, oh my God. You
I
don't
wanna
want to
say-
be yours.
See, Gen Z and Gen Alpha are the two that they talk about now that are like,
The millennials.
because millennials are all in their 30s. Or like my son was the last year of the millennials. He's 28. He was born in 97. So my daughters would fall into Gen Z?
Yeah, Gen
afterward?
Z is the next
Now
one
you've
after
got Gen
millennial.
Alpha.
And then Gen Alpha. But Gen Alpha is relatively new, right? That's only 2011 or something like that.
think
So-
you
like
know
high
your
school kids
generation.
now, high school kids now.
These young
Yeah.
ones.
Yeah.
If they're
Right.
spouting it off, I don't want them. Really.
Okay. All right. So if they, all right, if that's a factor. Okay, good. That's fun. So I want to talk, Chris, you have a very formal documented process. Can you tell us a little bit about what that looks like? I want to ask questions about it.
Okay. So our hiring process starts with, and this is what, like I actually went around, like I said, with around my guys talk, I always tell them, I don't hire anybody. I'm just the gatekeeper. I decide whether or not you even get the right to interview in the shop. So our first
So
interview,
don't ask about PTO.
our first interview is in our waiting room with customers walking in and out. And it's me sitting in a chair with you and just chit chatting about who you are. I ask questions like, what's your 5 and 5? What's 5 things you want in the next 5 years? What motivates you to get up on a Saturday? Why do you do what you do? What do you want in a culture? What do you bring to a culture? What's the greatest thing and the funnest thing you've ever done in your life? I ask nothing about mechanics. I ask nothing about work experience. Because I can train you to be a mechanic. I can't train you to be a fit in my shop.
Yeah.
And so it's all about who you are. And if they pass that, and now when I'm doing that, if a tech walks through, I'll be like, hey, Alan, have a seat. My service writers are there. I'll look at them and go, you guys think of anything else you want to ask? And so it's a conversation. It's very relaxed. It's very nonchalant. And then we give them time. Hey, whatever questions you have, that sort of thing. If I like them, I think they would be a fit. Their next interview is with our staff. And what's unique about it, it's with their staff without me.
Yeah, hold on. I want to go back to the waiting room. Have you ever had customers comment on that guy you should hire, or that guy stay away from it? He did not seem well.
I've never had them say that, but I have had in the middle of stuff throw in their own comments. I've had a customer stand there and go, hey, if you're only looking for a place that cares, you should come here. Because they'll be like, hey, if you don't come here unless you're willing to work, man, it's hard to get in here. And we need to get some work done because Chris needs more help. And so they'll make fun comments to them. I've had them like tell them to run for the hills. And just jokingly, hey, man, I know you're interviewing here, but you might want to just leave now.
Right.
But that kind of environment. But I want them to understand that I'm a pretty relaxed guy. And it's actually probably one of my actual downfalls as a boss. I need to be better at being like the boss. And, I'm fairly low key. And so that's kind of how it played out.
You never had to fire somebody from youth group.
That's not true.
Oh.
I have actually had to have very hard conversations with both leaders and with parents about how their kid is no longer allowed back.
Oh, wow. Okay. So back to the mechanic world, though. I wasn't expecting that. That's fun. But that is part of it, right? That hard conversation is where you have to go sometimes with the firing. Like you need to be able to do that. While you were saying about the snarky comments or the positive comments from the customers, I had envisioned like this little sign on the front desk that compliments 5% discount on labor.
For a positive review.
So now after that initial waiting room interview, the second interview is with the staff. Who do they meet when they come in?
The entire staff.
Do they have a point person?
Oh, nope. We bring them all in. I tell them, you need to come with questions. At this point, because I always say it's as much as them interviewing us as us interviewing them. Mm-hmm. If it doesn't fit for them, it's not going to work out. If it doesn't fit for us, it's not going to work out. Mm-hmm. So you need to have both sides. I tell them, you have to come with questions. Anything you want to know. I don't want you in 3 weeks, if I do hire you, going, I don't like working here. The staff is told. They ask you guys are free to say anything. It'll never be brought up. If you want to tell them, hey, Chris is a total smartass, and he is going to say things, and he is going to make jokes, or he's going to make comments, tell them everything. Because then in 3 weeks, they know all the bad. And they're going, oh, yeah, it is like that. They're not going, hey, you guys didn't tell me it's like that.
Right.
I run the office. I close the door to the office. Then they go stand out in the shop and they have a conversation. And this is for service writers, a shop help, technician.
So the work stops for 15 minutes or however long this, an hour.
The work stops for an hour.
All right.
And now
but I need my break time.
I buy them all lunch and they just have lunch.
Okay.
Too long.
I can't time it. And they'll walk out and the entire staff walks up and goes, we don't want that.
Okay.
But the ones that last, I've had to walk out there and go, okay, hey, we do have to go back to work. And they'll, oh, okay. And those are typically the people I've ended up hiring.
That's the second interview or second, you said it was 3 stops, right? So now you've evaluated that second stop. It's not necessarily a bunch of forms that you're filling out or whatnot, but it's just the general feedback. And so from there, what happens next?
A third one's really quick. Third one's simple. If the staff has said, yes, I've got an offer, I put the offer together, I have them come in and we have a little more of a formal talk of this is our pay scale.
Yeah.
This is our bonus schedule. This is our everything. And after all of that, I go, okay, are you still interested? And if they say yes, I make the formal offer. I usually have it in writing right there. We both sign off on it. So they're ready. We set a start date and we go for it. So the third one's not necessarily an interview as much as it is a final question and answer. And then a presentation of offer.
How often you get to the third one and you can't find the right dollar amount? They don't accept the offer or whatever the case might be.
It's happened once in 5 years.
What questions should I be asking, Mark, of Chris about his process?
That seems like it's a long time to have the shop shut down for the interview process. maybe I would have 1 or 2 people instead of the whole shop shut down for an hour. If it works though, and he gets great people out of it, then that's a good plan. But
Yeah.
I would struggle, especially if he's only open 4 days a week anyway. I'd love to hear how that works for him, because that seems like a great idea to work in the 411s.
I will give you, we are technically open 5.
Okay.
I sort of have 4 techs, 2 service writers. 2 techs and 1 service writer work Monday through Thursday, and then 2 work Tuesday through Friday.
Oh,
We're essentially half staff on Friday, half staff on Monday. We are, I'd say, about 20% more efficient than we were with working regular 8 to 5. Because guys get done better, they're happier, they get more time off. Actually, we find more vacation time at the end of the year not used because they got 3-day weekend every weekend.
How does that work for bay space though? How many bays do you have in order for guys to leave for 5 days or whatever, or a day, and then come back to that bay, that car in the middle of a big job? How does that work for bay space?
It doesn't happen very often because you're working 11-hour days.
Right.
Guys wrap stuff up way faster. We can sell a brake job at 5 o'clock and still have it out that afternoon. It's not sitting over. So we don't get a lot of that. Each master tech has 2 bays.
Okay.
So they can tie up, and theirs are dedicated. When they're not here, nobody's going to rip something apart in their bay. We still use it. Somebody needs to run in, do an oil change, do a brake job, whatever. We try not to leave anything down in it. And then my other 2 guys, they share 3 bays. So that kind of works out really well. So there's always an extra kind of in the middle if they need it, but most stuff is in and out anyways. There's not a whole lot of bay tear down or taking up that space.
What if you a cylinder head or something?
So that does happen. Sometimes we've had them that we've got a bay down, but with 7 bays and 4 guys, you can usually work around it.
I don't even mean with the bay down. I mean for the customer. Like in general, they're doing like 3-4 days. If you don't get it completed, it rolls into a week job. 7, 8 days.
You're going to have worst case scenario. I'm adding 1 day. If I don't finish it Thursday night, you might finish it Friday, or I'm going to finish it Monday. But if you don't finish it Friday night, you're not going to finish it till Monday either.
Yeah.
It really doesn't affect a whole lot. And because we're getting more done, we don't do the whole
Yeah,
We don't work weekends either.
Yeah.
So, Chris, in your scenario, that master tech that's working Monday through Thursday, you have 2 master techs, right? If the job isn't finished Thursday at the end of the day, is the other tech, the Friday tech, taking over that job to finish it for them?
Depending on the job.
Okay.
And because our guys are hourly and then incentive based on top of it, it makes it so there is no, and we've got enough camaraderie, and that's part of that culture thing. We've made it so there is no, oh, that's my job. And we always talk, they're just jobs. They're shop jobs. And it doesn't matter who does it. And because of that, we get guys, I'll give away a 14-hour timing bill, full service, everything to somebody else from one guy's inspection, because he's already got enough work to do that the other guy needs work. And so it just moves around freely through the shop, and they all understand that because there's shop bonuses on top of it. So there's an overall performance bonus along with your individual bonus. And so like, hey, if I'm busy enough, I don't care. Then we'll all get going.
That makes the way you described your shop and the way you're paying everybody, it makes the second phase of the interview process critical.
Yes. Very critical.
Absolutely critical, because you're not hiring one guy to be doing some jobs, or pushing out or turning out cars. He's on the team.
Yep.
Okay. All right. Interesting. Mark, what's your process? Do you have is it as formal?
No, we don't. Obviously, we're 5 days a week. We work 7:30 to 4:30. And we have guys that can take over for another guy or move cars around if we need to get stuff done. We definitely have the camaraderie to make that happen. The biggest thing I think about with what Chris is doing is service advisors, keeping in touch with a client that a car is there and they're not. Somebody calls to check on their car. As long as the communication between the service advisors is great, in case Mrs. Jones calls and you're not there to talk to her about her vehicle, if something changed or something broke, there's got to be great communication between the service advisors too that are not there on a given day that they're working.
Yep. Yeah, it's key. We do a lot of team time, a lot of talking back and forth. And it helps that we're not a huge shop. And so our service writers are 5 feet from each other. And so they're told, you listen in, you talk back and forth. When you guys got free time, sit down and look down your work in progress page, and you just walk down each one and go, okay, what's going on with Boers Buzz? What's going on with Irishes? What's going on with Fetmas? And they just talk it back and forth. So 90% of the time, I'd say when a customer calls, they don't have to go, hey, I need to talk to Justin, or hey, I need to talk to Marita. They just go, what's going on with my car?
Okay.
And that
Right,
person
right.
says,
So it's
oh,
not even
yeah,
a matter
let me
of
tell you.
Thursday or Friday or Monday. Anyone can be filled in, and they're being very familiar with it. They're not leveraging. They're not going into the notes in the CRM and reading.
Yeah, on
right? 'Cause-
occasion that has to happen. So Justin, if he carries something over Friday to Monday that wasn't there on Thursday, but then we finish out every Friday writing notes, and we just write down the names, what the status is on them, and what we expect.
And
So
I think that was your
Marita
remark.
picks it up and goes, oh, perfect. I know exactly what's going on.
Yeah. Jen, you wanted to chime in?
We jump around. Yeah, on jobs. Like guys will finish other jobs, but if I have something big going, I usually leave the guy on it.
Okay.
We don't try to move him around too much. And I know one guy's good at timing, one guy's good at breaks. You learn their strengths.
Sure.
So I feel like you put certain people on certain stuff.
And it also changes who you're going to try to hire because you know that you're short diagnostic guy or you're short. And that's got to be difficult. We've been talking so far as if it's an employer driven market, and it's not. It's an employee driven market. Meaning the mechanics are the one. There's such a shortage. And you guys need more of them than they need of you to some extent. So how do you go about trying to find unique disciplines or people, mechanics with particular strengths?
Because you just gotta,
Any thoughts on that?
Yeah.
Chris, if you needed a particular guy who was good at diagnostics, how would you go about trying to find that guy as opposed to just any mechanic?
I'm not sure I do.
I'd love to
Okay.
hear.
Yeah, because it's so hard. That's almost impossible to find. Just to try to advertise, be like, I need a diagnostic tech. Honestly, it's fun. Yo, I need an A tech. I need a B tech. I need a. It's because it's one guys come in, they're like, oh yeah, I'm an A tech, and that's one of those things. That's why I think probably all of us. It's like, where do you find good training? Where do you keep them going? Where do you hire who's got the attitude, who's got the ability to learn. I don't even have the ability to fix a car right now. I need them to have the ability to learn.
Yeah.
And if they've got that, we can train them into a good tech. We can make them a good diagnostic tech.
That actually, we talked about this before in the pre-conversation about service advisors and whatnot, and about how trying to hire somebody with just good communication and upbeat personality is more important than their knowledge of the industry and knowledge of cars, because you can teach the second a lot easier than you can teach the first. And so how does your process differ? The way you described the process before sounded like you were hiring a mechanic. What if you're hiring a service advisor? Does the process differ at all? And if so, do you have a micro meeting with Justin and the other? You mentioned Justin as one of the advisors. So do you have a micro meeting where just the service writers or advisors are the ones talking with each other? Or it's everybody for that second interview regardless?
It's everybody, because the service writers aren't separate from the team. I see that as part of the problem in our industry. Is there's this wall between the office and the shop in a lot of places. And it's like the mechanics versus them. And they're trying to screw us and they're trying to cheat us. And no, I want them all together.
Okay.
And if you can't get around with mechanics, then you shouldn't be a service writer for me. And if you can't communicate with them as well as you communicate with a customer,
okay,
you can't get along with that. Now, I admit, with the first interview, of course, it's in the office. So when I interviewed Justin, the other service writer was sitting there helping customers or writing an estimate or whatever they were doing, listening the entire time. I get them a little bit more involved. I'm like, hey, you got anything you want to ask? Hey, anything stand up to you? And then we might have a conversation after they leave of what do you think? I've had guys walk out. One of the girls that used to be here that we just replaced, Miranda, she looked at me and goes, no, please no. And it was like, okay, what'd you see? And she got to explain, this is what I heard, and this is what he said. And that kind of scared me a little bit. And I'm like, all right, that's what I need to know, because if you're not going to be comfortable working with them, this isn't going to work.
Mark and Jen, I got a question for you guys about Chris's process. And here's the question. I feel like the process shows how important the team aspect is. And it occurred to me that, back to the video conversations that we've had, that if you could take some long form video and then clip it so that you don't actually violate any kind of privacy or whatnot, you could potentially make a marketing initiative about trying to find, and here's the process, here's how it works. Oh, by the way, this is because of our team. So my question is to Jen and Mark, do you think that would be an effective way to market for new hires for Chris, that he'd be able to, that would actually help him? Mark nodded briefly.
What is it you're asking?
I'm thinking, again, I'm from the marketing background and things. And so I'm hearing about Chris's process and how he's bringing it, to me, the interview process in general shows and demonstrates how much of a team relationship they have with each other. And so part of me says because in an employee-driven market, the employers need to go out and try to market for more employees. You're not just tripping. And the other way around, you're tripping over. You got 25 applications a day, and you only need to hire one. That doesn't happen here. And if it does, it's just because people are trying to continue to comply with their unemployment requirements of applying for jobs. So I think it's an opportunity for him to get some video footage of those interviews. And of course, you have to cut it out and edit it so that it doesn't actually show anything that's violating anyone's personal privacy or whatnot. But I think that could actually be a marketing campaign for him to try to find more team members in the future.
Oh. Yeah. If they're right.
Go ahead, John.
If they're into that sort of, they want that family feel in a garage. So you probably could get guys out of like bigger shops or dealerships that don't want that big. If you want to hire more techs, but you're good right now.
You're always looking.
Spot.
You're always looking, right?
I think he's got his people.
We are full.
Remember, he's in a large industrial building. He has to put a bid in for his neighbor's shop a little bit higher, and he can take it over. I remember like a Fortune 500, maybe it was a Fortune 100 company that claimed that they always fire the bottom 10% of their staff every year.
Oh, I do know what you're talking about, but I don't know the name either.
Yeah, that creates a little bit of a different family culture.
Yeah,
because you're trying
that's a Shark Tank.
Try not to do that here. Right.
Yeah, rebels.
I like the thought, but I wouldn't do it.
I love the thought of constantly improving, but yeah, it's not survivalist.
Yeah.
So
I'm sure
all right.
they'd like me to fire myself.
Yeah, maybe it's time for me to go. Yeah.
Hey, maybe you're the next. You're on the list.
Yeah.
Interesting. All right. So, Mark, what about you? Do you have a formal process in place? Is it duplicatable? If you took a vacation for a month to Hawaii because you accrued all that Colorado PTO time, would you potentially be able to have someone else fill in the process, or are you key?
Yes, we have an office manager, and then we have a shop manager, shop foreman, that he manages both stores. So yeah, they could sit down with somebody, interview them, and they could certainly hire them. And they would go through the process, and it, for the most part, runs without me here for the most part.
Currently, okay.
Absolutely, they could do it.
What is that process so that they go through? Are you familiar with it, or is it just their own bread, their own thing?
I trust them to make that decision.
Okay.
If there's something that they have questions for me, they can obviously always get a hold of me. I've actually had them hire people without me being here, and we've had some great success. They know the kind of person we're looking for. We have enough people that they know what kind of person we want here. I think they would make it work.
Is it as family heavy as it is at Chris?
Oh, absolutely. You have to have a great core work environment and staff. Everybody has to get along. You can't have that competitive attitude that's doing this and doing that. It just doesn't work.
Yeah.
It's got to be very family oriented. Yes.
And so is it all the foreman's gut to determine whether or not they're going to fit in, or is there certain things that they're checking off to make sure that you mentioned checking out their social media environment?
Right.
Are you just looking on their Facebook page?
So they'll look into that. Obviously, they have a conversation. They'll bring up the service advisors, especially if it's a service advisor position. They come up and talk to them. The office manager talks to them. Our office manager used to run a Fortune 500 company, but he retired. So now he's working for us. He knows what to look for and what not to look for. We've been very lucky with our hires, and we've had people here for years.
Okay. All right.
Absolutely.
Interesting. Now, so Facebook, but the 20-year-olds are not on Facebook, right? Or if they are, they're not spending any time. They're spending it on TikTok, right? Does anyone here have fake social media accounts solely for the purposes of trying to figure out who the candidates are? So I know of people who have a TikTok account and an Instagram account, and they don't actually ever do any kind of posting. That's just for stalking. Anyone? No? Yes?
No.
So you're only looking to Facebook. If they don't have a Facebook account, then you're not getting a picture of what's going on with them.
No, don't have a TikTok account. Never followed one. No idea.
Yeah, most of the time. I feel if you sat and talked to them enough, you get vibes and what they're into, what they're all about.
Yeah, I mean, maybe.
You don't think, but
like it was suggested earlier, there's absolutely an insight to when you see what they do on social media. Yeah. But I just found it interesting that you're only looking to the Facebook platform for those indicators. You're not looking to any other platform.
I'll use Instagram, Twitter, or X. The only one I don't do is TikTok.
All right. Any fun stories with the Instagram pictures?
Yeah, I've had a couple of employees that I've looked at and gone, I just don't think you're going to fit our environment. I don't
Or
think you're going
potential,
to fit our
right.
culture. Just from the stuff that they post, I know my guys, and if you come in and say some of the stuff that you've posted, I'm going to have to break up a fight. And so we're not going to do this.
Politics, religion,
Wow.
like what kind of
Sure.
topics are we talking? No, just Hondas are bad cars. Like,
It's more just like really polarizing statements that I know are just, would not fit.
so it's not I'm a Chevy guy versus I'm a Ford guy. It's specifically, it's more polarizing.
Yeah. And
Some
it's
of that
just
is so
stuff that,
polarizing.
and it's not like I have an opinion about, which is fine. I don't care. It's more of, I want to fight about this. You're going to walk into the shop and you're going to want to antagonize people. And I've seen that. Those people that I've seen that on their Facebook or on their Instagram, I've seen it in the interview where they want to kind of bring it up and like, they want, what's your opinion on it? And I was like, wait, this is not the place to have that conversation. I'm happy to have it. I've had those conversations. I think I'm really good at them. I love doing it. I'll even instigate it outside of my shop. You want to go have lunch and have that conversation? Great. We're not going to do this yelling across the shop.
And again, those polarizing conversations are all politics based.
A lot of them are.
Okay.
A lot of politics, religion. And I think the problem is we've told everyone for years, never talk about politics and religion. And there's a reason that we all suck at talking about politics and religion.
That's fair.
And so I've seen people that'll post their politics and religion, if they post it in a discussionary manner or in an opinionated manner, not in a attacking kind of manner, then I go, I'm fine with that. You can have those statements. And those are fine because you probably know how to talk about them. And you know how to share your opinion and what you believe. But if you've got like an attacking place on your Instagram, all your posts are not necessarily sharing your belief, but attacking the other side. And I know that you don't want to have a conversation. You know how to start an argument. Yes, it was good boss.
Mark, have you seen that? Have you actually seen antagonistic posts and you're like, I'm staying away from these people?
Not that I'm aware of. No, I haven't seen anything where I would say this person is going to be a cancer right from the get go. I don't think I've seen that.
I wrote it.
All right. So you got duped and you hired the wrong person. And Chris is smiling, right? Because we're getting into that firing conversation. How often do you have a process in place? Do you tap your shop foreman on the shoulder and say, get rid of this guy? Or you put on your pants and get it done? And how do you do it? What does it look like? Who wants to go first? Actually, I'm going to choose who's going to go first. Who had to fire somebody in the last 6 months?
Not me.
Chris, you're about 3 months ago or 4 months ago that you had someone canned. And so how did that go? And how much sooner should have you done it?
Okay. So I've got a couple of those there. And that's I always say, my problem is I like to be liked.
Yeah.
And so I want to be liked. That's my biggest character flaw in working. One of the things I've always tried that I'm working on personally is the idea of accepting that it's okay to be bad at hiring, but you need to be really good at firing. I struggle with the idea that it's almost an ego thing because I don't want to admit that I made the mistake in hiring the wrong person. And so I try to fix them instead of just recognizing and cutting them loose when it's time to cut them loose. I probably should have fired a month before I did. I probably should have fired a year before I did.
Ouch.
Because I kept on meeting with him and setting goals, and he would not make them, and I would readjust the goal, and but he did a little bit better. He made it towards the goal. He didn't reach it, but he made it, and I kept on doing that. And that was, if I would have pulled the Band-Aid off and been done with it, it'd have been much better. And I think I improved in the fact that I had the next guy, and 4 weeks I was like, hey, I probably should fire him now. I'm gonna accept. I think I trained him wrong. I'm gonna retrain him. And I put him through a second set of training. Didn't work. Cut him loose. And it's so, just like anything else, you have to meet with them multiple times. You got to have the proper write-ups, the proper documentation. I always bring my shop foreman hates me for it because that's the only thing that guarantees my job safe forever. So every time I bring him into one of these meetings, he goes, I hate your job. I don't ever want it. Because he has to sit there while I like reprimand somebody and write them up. And he just sits there and goes, that's so fun. I enjoy that part. But so it is a process and it's tough where you just have to, but it's hard to admit that I saw this guy as being a real potential. And then at the end, not.
Yeah.
They don't live up to that potential.
So it was just performance related. It wasn't necessarily attitude related. It was both.
No, One of them was attitude related. The other one
Okay.
was just potential. Like he was a nice guy. In fact, I still talk to him. It's been a year since he's been gone, and we'll still interact on Facebook every now and then or something. Or oddly enough, he delivers packages here every now and then.
Okay.
And he's
All right.
much happier now. The
Okay.
second kid, the second one I let go, it was more of an attitude thing. He just could not have he didn't have an attitude of let's get to work. He had a very lazy outlook, and he just kind of wandered. And so that was just kind of like, hey, no, I need to get you focused. Hey, I need to get you focused. And then it just couldn't do it. So yeah, got rid of it then.
Okay.
I haven't had to do it recently. At least a year and a half.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what was it? A year, 3 months, and 12 days. What happened?
A lot of people like right in the beginning. It's so much easier right in the beginning.
The sooner you tackle it, the better.
I feel like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
They know they don't work. They know they don't fit. Like
Right.
the whole thing. They don't know what they said.
Okay.
I hate them too much.
Yeah.
Counted them out.
Okay.
And they don't know half the stuff they said they knew.
I'm like Chris. I hang on too long. I try to give chances, and then it just makes it harder at the end.
Yeah.
It makes it harder
So
on
much
everyone
worse.
else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. All right. So let's start to wrap up. Or this particular episode was all about the hiring process. Is there anything that we didn't cover that you were expecting to cover today?
No, I think we got it all.
Jen's, yeah, we got it all, and we got it all again, and we got it all again. Chop chop. God bless you. I get it. So that's fine. What about you,
wanted to
Chris?
Talk about the pronoun situation.
Hey, let's talk about it. That's fine. I'm not wrong. You've never had an
Yeah,
application.
I've never had that ever.
No, I get solicitations. Like people are trying to sell me something.
Yeah.
And if I see that in their email or their profile, then my thought is if you don't have the grasp of the English language, it suggests that I'm not going to use the third party pronoun when I'm talking with you and you're demanding how I speak to somebody else. Like, I don't even care what that is. I just think it's weird that you're requiring me to have certain speech requirements with other people when you're not in the room. Use your name.
Yeah. No.
Just call me silly.
I
Respectful
see
that
it
way.
on like LinkedIn. Like when people read,
Yes.
I'm just like,
Right.
boy, what
Yeah.
am I going to do?
Dealing
Yeah,
with high schools and dealing with colleges, you get a lot more
Not my
because there's
So it's just something that you see and you just
depends
move
on
on.
the context. It becomes
Okay.
a flag if they comes into the office and they're like, "Oh, this is my." When
Okay.
it's just on
If
their,
they verbalize it.
it's like something they have to add to their lines.
Oh my God.
Yeah. I'd be coaching them to not do that anymore.
Yeah,
Be
but
like,
that's
that
I don't worry about it until it shows up in my office. If it shows up in my
Okay.
office and they introduce themselves that way, then I'm like,
Yeah.
maybe not.
I've actually disconnected on social media. I've actually disconnected from, again, professional like LinkedIn. It just seems off to me. And I actually pushed back someone who I was actually also friends with. I asked and they said it was a field. I didn't know that it was just an optional field.
Yeah.
And that's also part of the challenge with some of those frameworks is that people are just checking a box because they don't know any better.
Yeah.
That they don't have
We
to
all
actually
know
check the box
better.
at all.
Yeah, I
Right.
think we all know that what it looks like. Not higher. Let's face it. If I saw
Right.
her on something, I'd be like, oh, no, it sounds like they're probably very touchy.
And that can be part of the problem right there.
Yeah. Yeah.
They're
And my guys,
the world is not about you. The world is what you can do for others, right? And what you can help, how you can help others. But if you're so focused on the you, that will also reflect in your gut when you're doing the interview process.
Yeah.
Like even without the pronoun listed, right? If they're so egomaniac and centric on themselves, then they're not going to be a good team player. So anyway, Mark, I don't know if you disagree or agree, or if you're just being super professional and polite with that poker face that you've got going on right now. But you're welcome to chime in if you want. If you don't want to, that's okay. We can pass it by.
I'm good.
So one of the topics that you were expecting to be able to cover today that we didn't actually tackle, Chris, you actually looked down at as if you were looking at notes.
Yeah, I've got no. I'm a pastor. I've got like a whole sermon written here.
Oh. All right.
In chapter 2,
All right. So all right.
uh,
Give us the top level stuff.
the only thing I was thinking of is the other side of the interview is them interviewing you and how do you sell yourself? And I think that's something that's really, really vital. Kind of like what you were talking about. It's one thing it's why we've switched to a new social media person that's more local. And like in my office is because having somebody absent, we haven't been able to make those videos. And that's something that even my guys have commented. We did recently hire a tech after we let one go. I loved this part. And I was like, man, that would be great. Why aren't we advertising that? Usually every year we take the week from Christmas to New Year's off. We just close everything. It's a paid holiday for the shop. And we do that and we advertise that as, hey, we're doing this because we love our guys so much. that we want them to be with their families. We value that. And so why am I not taking advantage of when I talked to Philip today? He was like, hey, the one thing I loved is I spent the time with the guys out here laughing and getting to know them. My first day, there was no stress. There was no walking into an environment, not knowing who anybody was,
having part of the team
yourself. I already knew everybody in the shop. And so it was so comfortable. The first day was just like, let's go. There was none of that awkwardness of, okay, who are you? What do you do? How long you been? There was none of that. It was already gone. And so we're kind of lacking some of the, so I do want some of that video stuff, but it's how do you sell yourself? Because you have to sell yourself to these techs. Like you said, there's a tech shortage.
Right.
I want guys competing to come work for me. Not that I compete to get them to hire. You didn't even want to talk to me. And I think we've accomplished that a little bit. I've got guys that are hoping that Philip fails. Fun calling and text messaging me or emailing me and going, hey, does that tech work out? Or do you got a position open? Or do you think you might have something? Because they want the job.
Nice.
And it's because
that's a great spot.
The culture that's different. One thing I hear from our guys, when they get out there, they go, it's not really that, is it? And my techs will tell them, yeah, it is. You're going to be surprised. You're going to come on here and this is different. It's going to be a different world. You are not going to know how to react to it. And it's going to surprise you and it's okay. Because guys don't believe that it's really this kind of culture. It's real. They don't believe it. They don't believe that that's how we run our shop. And we need to do better at that. And I think that's part of the interview process is selling.
Yeah.
And I've even done it the kind of the jerk way. I've had a guy that I knew I wasn't going to hire because he was super arrogant and the way he talked was very disrespectful, even to my own service writer sitting in the room. Made a comment to her that just should have ended the interview and just been like, you know what, get out, we're done. But instead, I took 15 minutes to tell him about all the great benefits we have to make sure he knew what he was going to miss because he wasn't getting that job. And that was a very petty move on my part. I wholeheartedly admit it. At the same time, I want to have a shop that's so good. That's the kind of thing you have.
And you want to get the word out. You want to get the word out that that's the environment that you have.
Yeah.
Mark, are you guys doing anything to try to sell the shop to the top mechanics?
Not that we've done recently, no. We haven't had too many hires recently. So no, we haven't done that. We haven't had the pool of people, let's say, waiting to get in. No, we haven't done that.
Okay. How about you, Jen? Is there anything that you're doing to try to acquire that other spot? What other topics did we not cover that you were expecting to chat about today?
The only thing I have written down was getting to the younger generation as far as getting them used to taking care of their cars. We have some of the younger generation where the parents make sure they bring their cars in and stuff. But we've noticed a lot of the younger generation doesn't want to talk on the phone. They want to text, email, text about their car, text over the payment, text to pay, hide the keys in their car over and then pick their car up after we're closed. It's no contact with a human being ever. It's all text communication or email.
What they want.
And that's what we've run into is it's way more of just don't want to get on the phone. It's either text, email, drop the car off, drop the keys before we're open, pick the car up after we're closed. And that seems to be that younger generation. That's what they want. They don't want to communicate.
It's strange.
And in the hiring world, that does come out, even in hiring techs. I got guys that they'll all come up and talk. They have to.
Right.
But we've got the ability through Mitchell and through Bolt-On. They finish an inspection. They just text up to the service writer, inspection's done.
Right.
They just text up, repairs done. And they don't necessarily have to do that. So that is something that we do see guys that are coming in and interviewing. Some of them are like, do you guys have a shop communication system? And you're like, yeah, you can text back and forth. You don't have to walk up and talk to them. I'd rather you did. I prefer the personal interaction. There's more nuance to it, but at the same time, it is something that we do offer. If that's something that, and some of the younger guys they would rather, for small stuff like that, they'd rather send a text and not bother to walk up here and just and then our service writers can ask questions back.
And they're not doing that with their cell phones,
Company
tablet. Yeah.
So it's a closed loop. It's not an open text. It's just a messaging app in between in the actual system.
And I was talking more clients though than the staff.
Yeah.
The younger generation clients, the staff, they have to communicate back and forth. The service advisor looks over every car. before they get on the phone. It goes back and forth. So the internal communication is huge. I was talking about the external client. Right.
And so what are you doing about it?
Well, we're doing everything through Kakui or Bolt-On, where it's all texting back and forth, email them the invoice. They pick and choose what they want to fix or don't want to fix in the total. Email back. We fix the car and text them when it's done. So it's just making it convenient for the way they want to communicate.
Interesting. I'm a numbers guy, and I'm curious right now on the percentage of green versus yellow versus red work order on the DVIs. I'm curious to know if there's a drop off in closed jobs or an increase in closed jobs. So versus conversation versus just text message. I want to know if it went up or down.
Oh, conversation always goes up.
What I was saying.
Always goes up. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah. So how do you find a way to get them to be comfortable with that quick call after the text message? I can chat with you over the phone a lot easier and only take 2 minutes. May I call you? But it's just an idea because the closing on the jobs that need to be done sooner than later, but aren't necessarily critical, aren't getting signed off on. So how do we get them to sign off and have them proactively take care of their car?
Well, what they're doing with the DVI is they put things in priority for them as to, well, this should be first, this should be second, this is what has to be done, this is what can wait. And a lot of times they just make the decision based off of that.
Yeah. Yeah, but I'm thinking you can close that wait time if you have the verbal conversation with them.
Once they're agreeable to it, correct. If they're not,
yeah,
then this is the way you handle it.
I think sometimes you can push it a little bit so it tells you when they open it. And so if it's something we want to push a little bit, we're more time sensitive. Okay, if we want to get this done today, we'll wait till it opens, usually give them a couple minutes and call them. Even if they don't want to talk, you leave them a voicemail. They'll listen to that. 2 minutes later, they text you back, hey, go ahead and get that done.
Right.
Even though they didn't want to talk.
Oh, that's interesting.
They're able to listen to what you have to say. And they go, oh, great. We just go, hey, we saw you open that up. Wanted to see. We're a little time sensitive on this. If you want to get that still done today, we just need to know before 3:00.
Right.
And
so the voicemail you're leaving isn't.
So that verbal part is still there, even though they don't necessarily want to pick up the phone. Yep.
But the voicemail you're leaving isn't call me. It's as if they're on the other end of the phone having the conversation, but they're just not able to speak back. What are the things that we chat on before we wrap up here? What other items on our list that we should probably chat about today?
That's all I had.
Okay. Jen, how about you? Did we cover everything?
Good.
All right, good.
Yeah.
All right. So the last question I want to ask you guys is just when we first started talking, I gave you a list of things that we would be kicking around as far as topics. Now that you've experienced this show where we're sharing ideas back with each other, and I'm hoping that you'll start listening into the show as well as, by the way, there's a Facebook page called the Garage Grit Podcast Facebook page where we're going to be hopefully having people engage with us about this topic, right? And so they might actually ask Chris about your process. They might have a question for you. So if you're not already a member of that Facebook group, get jumped in. If you don't know what the link is, I'll send it to you, but it's the Garage Grit Podcast Facebook page. And it's a private community for these types of expanded conversations. But I'm curious, do you have any suggestions on topics in the future? What things should we discuss in, say, June or July?
I would suggest credit card fees, how people are dealing with credit card fees and processing and cash, or are they giving a discount? Are they charging 3% or whatever they're charging? Cash flow management. Are you using credit cards? Are you getting earned back on your credit cards for paying for your parts? Or are you taking advantage of cash flow? Are people interested in courtesy cars? Not interested in courtesy cars? How does that work? Those would be my suggestion.
Jen, any ideas?
No, I think the credit card processing is a really good one.
Nice.
Yes, people offer that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't charge the percentage, but I know a lot of places that.
Yep.
Restaurants.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Yep. And when it comes to credit card processing, Clay mentioned that the format of this podcast has improved over the last year. The very first podcast we ever put out actually was about that topic. But I didn't have enough shop owners' perspectives. And so I think it's a great topic to revisit because that topic also is very dynamic. The rules within that topic changed probably in the last 16 months. I think that's a good idea to revisit that because there's never okay, we've talked about this. We never have to talk about it again. I think it's appropriate to revisit certain topics. And one of the things that we noticed even back 16 months ago was back to the younger generation, Mark. They're more okay with paying that fee to pay with their credit card.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So now when I go for takeout, I find cash before I swipe the card because I don't need the reward points that badly. Chris, what other topics do you think we should venture into?
I agree with the truck card thing. We couldn't even charge that till a year ago. Colorado changed the laws for us to allowed us to do it. We still don't, but we could. I think what builds a good culture? I think that's a huge topic. Well, how do you build it? What about employee benefits? That's something that's changing in our industry. It's something that's drawing guys even to us, like even the 4-day work week, health benefits, extra time off, the other little small stuff that you build in for incentive that gives them what we would call real income. Because if I raise your income, yes, but you're going to pay the taxes. But
Sure.
If I can give you a $300 boot allowance that I can write off as health and safety, that's real money in your pocket that you don't pay taxes on. Same thing with health insurance. Well, I think those are good topics to talk about. It's a broader one, but like integrity in the auto industry, I think we've earned a reputation that we deserve, that I see a lot. There's a lot of how do you combat somebody that's not doing things right, taking advantage of people? How do you combat a high pressure sales environment that probably should?
Yeah.
A little bit on the deeper side of that. What's the position on that? You and I have talked. I spoke on that at Ratchet and Wrench. It's big in my world right now, as far as how are we showing our integrity to the world? How are we being, and then the future of the industry? I think that'd be a great one. How are we reaching out to our high schools? How are we encouraging kids? That 10 years ago, when I was doing this, they pushed so hard, go to college, go to college, go to college. You go to tech school if you're not good enough to get into college. I tell kids all the time when they come in, this is not a job. This is a career. These guys make real money. Like they are not scraping the bottom of the barrel, living in a trailer on the back of some guy's yard. No, they're making real money, buying real toys, having real lives,
real cars.
It's a career. This is an actual good career. And we need to change that concept because so many kids walk in here thinking
it didn't used to be. That's why.
Yeah,
years ago.
So how do we invest in that? So how do you rework yourself to present this industry to them, to bring them in and get them interested?
You got a lot of topics there, Brad.
Thank you so much. So just to wrap up, guys, thank you for the time. I know that it went a little bit longer than we were expecting, but I appreciate that you hung out with us and shared your thoughts on this hiring process, the red flags, and then some. We talked a little bit more than that as well. So thank you for that. Appreciate it. And again, I mentioned the Facebook group and the Garage Grip Podcast, the Facebook group. The goal of this podcast is to try to help as many shops as possible. And so I'm hopeful that there were some things that were said amongst the three of you that actually made you think, maybe I should make some tweaks to what I'm doing. Or that's my hope, is that there were some ideas there that you just continue to think about, even if you were sharing it yourself, that you're like, maybe we should do it this way. Audience, that they're also being able to do that. And again, back to that Facebook page. And it's brought to you, this is all paid for by AA Shop Marketing, a digital marketing company for auto repair shops. Our mission and our marketing mission and our approach to market there is, again, we're trying to help as many shops as possible, right? But thanks again for your time. This is the Garage Grid Podcast, and join us on the weekly live shows on Tuesdays, where we go into even more depth about these topics. Thank you so much, and I will talk to you guys later.